What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Mack, the host of the Black Heroes Podcast, and today I'm coming with you with a special video that I'm calling Why They're the MCs of the Big Three. Now, this is going to be a video detailing why Naruto, Ichigo, and Luffy are, respectively the biggest names in anime, probably outside of maybe the most famous name possibly in all of fiction, Goku, and pretty much why, quick analysis on, how they have their abilities, what really garners their love from their fans, and just kind of going through to detail what's special about them that might not be something that's in other animes that kind of help out. I mean, and some of it is thanks to the anime themselves, different way of doing storytelling and stuff like that, but a large part of a story is the main character, and that's why I kind of wanted to do this. So let's get started with it, and let's start with probably the second most famous anime character in America, Naruto Uzumaki from the anime Naruto. Now, we all know Naruto's backstory. We all have seen people throw it on the names of, My Hero Academia and Black Clover as the one that inspired them, even though they're listed to be inspired by different stories, whatever. And one of the biggest things about Naruto was the fact that it was one of the best, come up stories that we've seen in a while. And I think that's one of the main things that kind of helps Naruto with his popularity, is the fact that we started with Naruto when he was a child, just like us. For example, Ichigo is 15 at the start of his show, and Luffy is 17 at the start of his show, even though he doesn't act like it. But it's a big difference between Naruto, who started at the age of 13 and then grew to the age of 16, kind of at the same rate as we were growing as children, to where you can actually see, the childish mentality he has kind of mature when he gets through his story, and also once he gets a bit older, and when he ends off in the story actually achieving his goal of Hokage when he's an adult, which most people have. They have a dream when they're a child. They want to work hard and they mature through the different experiences, both happy and sad, and then they hope to reach that goal when they get to adulthood. So Naruto has actually been a pretty solid showing of actually growing up in the world and making it to the goal you set for yourself. And that's probably the thing that makes Naruto so great for the big three, is the fact that out of those three characters I just listed, Ichigo, Naruto, and Luffy, Naruto is the most human out of all of them. Kind of funny to say, since he is a ninja, and his backstory isn't something that's the most relatable, because some people try to say that, no, I can relate to Naruto, da-da-da-da-da. Sorry, I doubt that your parents were killed by a gigantic fox demon that was controlled by the student of one of those parents. Then that fox demon turned around and destroyed the village that you lived in, which caused that entire village to hate you just for the fact that that demon is now living inside of your body. So, I don't know what type of childhood y'all have, but yeah, the boogeyman don't live inside the belly. So, and then next thing you know, your whole suburb hated you for it. So yeah, Naruto definitely is not the most relatable character. However, the way he became relatable in a way, or in a sense, was the way he reacted to the isolation he had to deal with growing up. Because he's a child. So when children get attention deprived, they normally act out in a way to garner that attention. So he did pranks, he made a whole bunch of ruckus, he always did things to make himself stand out. And all of us have pretty much had a moment where we kind of had to do that. Maybe if you're an older sibling, you didn't do it as much, but if you're definitely a younger sibling or an only child, you more than likely did things to make sure that your parents' attentions were on you, or class clowns. Everybody knows who the class clown is, so they pay attention to that person. So most definitely the way Naruto reacted to his situation is how any other kid would have acted. But on top of that, the way Naruto reacted in a lot of the things he went through in the life of a ninja was pretty human compared to what you would expect from your average everyday ninja, which you would expect them to be, pretty cold or not responsive to a lot of things. And one of the biggest examples of that is with the Zabuza arc, because at the end of it, he cried for Haku, just on the pure sadness of his story of dying, not thinking of himself as a human being. He had so much loyalty and love for Zabuza, but at the end of it, he pretty much gave up his life just thinking he was a tool and not thinking that he was loved. So, him crying to that for a person who just possibly killed his friend or his teammate at the very least, is something that was really resonating with us as children, because once we hear Haku's backstory, we learn who he is and how close he is and how much Zabuza mattered to him, and the fact that he died happy protecting Zabuza, it's something that made all of us kind of, get emotional about it. So seeing Naruto get emotional about it really helped us to just, connect with him, in a certain way. And that kind of goes on and moves on forward with other things that Naruto does, because, like I said, he's the most human. Naruto does have a lot of the stereotypical shonen traits of a main character. He's dumb like Goku and Luffy. He's a, odd singularity like Ichigo, or somebody like Madara Kurakami, who are pretty much, like just certain qualities about them make them stand alone in their own verse. He's highly powerful and instructive, and, he has these tendencies to act out and, just to be very eccentric, kind of like the JoJos and stuff like that. So he has the qualities of the shonen protagonist that you normally see. But the good thing about Naruto was that even with all those qualities, he acted like a normal kid. He had a crush. He always, made sure Sakura knew that, he liked her and stuff like that. He reacted to things in normal ways. He pulled pranks. He was always energetic and, talking about his goals when he was around adults and stuff like that. When during the Chunin exams, when he, just pretty much shouted out that he was going to pass and become a Chunin no matter what, and that's what helped him pass, even though he didn't answer anything. It was something that was just so hilarious that, you connected with them just so much easier than probably Ichigo or Luffy. But in a way, though, it's something that really helps him to just garner a lot of respect and attention because of the fact that he acts so normal for our standards, even though it's abnormal in the ninja world, that it made it easier to connect with him in a way. And for me personally, that was like one of the main reasons that I always liked Naruto, was because of the fact that he was so relatable in the fact of how he acted, not his life, but just how he acted to things. When he finally met Minato, he punched Minato. Like, all of us kind of wanted to punch Minato, because he was like, yo, your son, like, I get that you died for your son, but you like, he still lived a hard life because you weren't there. When he cried when he met Kushina, it's like, yeah, that was my first time meeting my mom. I would cry about that too. So, that was one of the things that helped. And also the way he valued people, because he had values for, or at least he valued Sasuke highly. If your friend or somebody you grew to see as a friend, leaves, and you feel like they were forced to leave, you would, pursue them, and you would want to help them to get better, or to at least, bring them back home. So that's a normal feeling. So, for that, it was something that was, just easy to gravitate towards Naruto, I believe. And I won't say that Naruto isn't a complicated character, but out of Luffy and Ichigo, I would say Naruto's the easiest to understand. So it doesn't take that much brain power to really think about his character. Like, his character is just a nice guy. And, that's probably one of the other big points, that he's a genuinely nice person. So he's a nice character that's relatable from how he acts in his world, and also the way he grows through it. And the fact that we got to grow with him on the journey is one of probably the biggest reasons that Naruto is the most human character out the big three, which helps him to be one of the best characters that help to solidify himself as the main character for one of the biggest shows of the big three. And now that we've kind of go through to talk about Naruto, let's move on to the second spot, which is Ichigo Kurosaki from the anime Bleach. Now, a funny thing about Bleach, and also it's also a series I'm planning on doing eventually too, where I kind of make connections to other shows, like what show might have inspired another show, is the fact that Ichigo really reminds me of the main character Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho, mainly for the fact that both were kind of delinquents. Ichigo's not really a delinquent. He went to school, he went to class, he was a good student, graduated really high in his class. He grew up, became a father, also went and started his own family, and he also has his own business and everything like that. Or I think he took over his father's business. But Ichigo was somebody who should have been the easiest to relate to out of Naruto and Luffy, for the fact that he's in regular life. He goes to school, he lives with his family, his father has his own business, and he has his two sisters that he looks after, and he seems like the average everyday kid who just has the ability to see ghosts. So from there, Ichigo should be the most human, but I think the thing that makes Ichigo one of the best of the big three is the fact that Ichigo on the base level is the most relatable character out the big three through his experiences. Ichigo, as I said earlier, was a kid. He's 15 years old. He has the ability to see ghosts. He could do it all his life. So he's going through life every day, going to school, going home, hanging out with friends, studying, blah, 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 blah. Then one day, a hollow attacks his home, trying to find him because he has such strong spiritual pressure or spiritual energy. And then that's when he meets a soul reaper named Rukia. She gets hurt, he takes over her powers. So now this normal, average, everyday boy gets thrust into the life of a soul reaper who has to protect spirits from hollows and helps them to get to the soul society. So now the average everyday boy becomes this superpowered protector. So we kind of lose the relatability aspect of average everyday life, going more into a kind of hero, or at least duty bound aspect of, maybe I'd say like a spiritual soldier. So from there, it's not that Ichigo isn't relatable anymore, but the way he acts being thrown into the situations is what's relatable. Because one of the biggest things for me that happened in the story was in the beginning, where Ichigo was kind of being lackadaisical about the job of a soul reaper. He wasn't taking it too seriously. So when Rukia came and said there was a hollow, and Ichigo rushed off to help the spirit being attacked, Rukia stopped him and explained, "You have now taken the responsibility of being a soul reaper. You have the powers of a soul reaper. So you don't get the chance to pick and choose what spirits you have to protect. You now have to actually go through and steel yourself and resolve yourself to helping every spirit that you see or every hollow that pops up, because of the fact that it's your responsibility now. You accepted my power, so now you have to accept that responsibility." I'm not about to use the Spider-Man line, by the way. I was thinking about it, but I ain't gonna do it. But the cool thing about that is we've all had situations where we kind of went into something not taking it that seriously. So when we get in there and we don't really take it all that seriously, we slip up in a way that has the older person in there and whatever we're doing give us a talk about, hey, you either take this seriously or you don't do it. This is your responsibility now. This is what you have to do. And that's from anything, whether it's joining a club, taking care of a pet, having a child, getting in a relationship. We've all had moments where we've gone into something and somebody else had to check us about it on how we're addressing it. So that's where he becomes relatable in that sense. Then it moves forward into Rukia gets captured, or not really, she gets arrested technically. So now Ichigo, who has, in this point in time, I think it was 3 months they spent together, now he's feeling responsible for it, and also he feels the failure, because out of Luffy, Naruto, and Ichigo, I'd say Ichigo is the one who's failed the most, or at least the one who's got beaten the most out of the big three. So we actually get to see the fact that, even when you train, you work hard, you do all this stuff, and you get, you feel like you're powerful, you still have moments where you fail and you mess up. So that kind of helps. And for most parts, Ichigo is normally down anytime he fails, which helps him to be relatable, because you get to see that he has to now face this ideal of, well, I lost, what do I do now? How can I get back up on my feet? And most times somebody comes and helps him to get back up on his feet, which, like I said, is relatable, because we've all had moments where we've screwed up badly, whether through failing a test, failing a class, a car accident, maybe you got fired from your job, or maybe you just got hit with a life-changing event like getting sick, or you've got into an accident and you became paralyzed in some type of way. We've all been through situations where something happened where we didn't succeed. We were down about it, and then something had to come and help us get the motivation to move forward. So that's what happens to Ichigo practically every arc. Whether it was something that was he got overpowered, which was the normal case, or somebody ended up being captured between the roles of Rukia and Orihime, Rukia and the Soul Society, where Ichigo lost against Byakuya badly, almost died. And then, Urahara had to help him get back on his feet with his powers, whether it's him getting beat by Grimmjow and he's losing control of his holification powers. So now he's feeling weaker and not really feeling up to task to control himself. So he kind of is shrieking away from that, but then he gets help from Rukia to resolve himself. And he also gets help from Shinji to be able to train to control that power. So, throughout the whole story, he's going through and learning and getting back up on his feet, which, a lot of us have to do. You all live long lives. I was going to say we all live long lives, but if you live a long life, one of the things that's going to be a reoccurring factor is failure. Failure is the mother of success. So with that, Ichigo becomes so relatable to the fact that, he's duty bound to his friends. He wants to help his friends. He wants to protect his family. That's just like what everybody wants to do. Then his friends and family gets put in situations that are pretty much detrimental to his mental health. So we have to see him build his mental health in a way to where he can keep going and stay motivated, which is probably one of the biggest things in life. You have to be able to stay motivated for what you want to do. And a lot of times life hits us hard and we kind of lose motivation. So with Ichigo having to constantly go through that, and if you're seeing that while going through something hard in your life, you will definitely attract yourself to that type of mindset and to that type of story where somebody who is physically strong, he's, being honest, like out the big three, Ichigo is the most attractive. He's a good looking character. Like, shouts to Tide Kubo for doing that one. He's charismatic in a way because people are drawn to Ichigo, and he's an easy guy to get along with. He's laid back, easygoing. He's not really all that loud unless you get him upset. If you're just hanging around him, he'll joke with you and everything, and he'll kind of stay in the background and talk when he needs to. So he's reserved, so he won't really be annoying to anybody. So, when you see that type of character go through some of the things he's gone through, just pick himself back up, you really get attracted to that type of character. And also the fact that he's normal in the sense of how he reacts to things. So that helps you as a normal person understand, or at least connect with him in a way that you see, yeah, I see why you had this breakdown, and I see how you got built back up. Either through inner monologues with working with Zangetsu, which is pretty much your own soul, or through the help of your friends and family, which I need sometimes too. So definitely the fact that Ichigo is somebody who goes through so many ups and downs just like anybody else in life, and he's normally picked up either through self-reflection or by his friends and family coming through to help him out, and then he goes off to still protect those friends and family after he gets to pick me up. It's something that's definitely relatable to a lot of people, because that's what we have to do in life as well. We fall, we get back up. Sometimes we get up ourselves. Sometimes a friend helps us and helps us up. So definitely that's one of the biggest reasons why Ichigo is one of the best MCs, and also why I say he's my second favorite MC. I'm being honest, my list of this is actually going in reverse. So did Naruto first because he's my third favorite, Ichigo second because he's my second favorite, and now we about to get into the big boy himself, Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. Now, if you know me, if you watch the podcast, if you've seen some of the tweets, you know that Monkey D. Luffy is my favorite character of all time. One Piece is my favorite show, story, anime, manga, whatever. It's my favorite thing of all time. I personally believe it is the greatest shonen written. I personally believe its cast is amazing. I love the Straw Hat Pirates. I wish I was a Straw Hat. I mean, look at my avatar. I mean, I'm pretty much a Black Bull mixed with a Straw Hat. So yeah, definitely much love to One Piece. And since, I love One Piece, and hopefully the people listening to this love One Piece, so be sure to like and subscribe so that way I can keep doing videos like this. Thank you for the support, and to keep going with the video. For Luffy, he is somebody who is dumb. Alright, we all understand that. Luffy's dumb. If you put him in a class, he probably won't pass. There is like a semblance of intelligence to him. We understand that. He can do basic math. If he's having a conversation, he can actually flow through the conversation pretty well, and he understands things on a basic level. And that's kind of what makes his character so amazing, is the fact that Luffy, out of all the big three, he is the most pure of all the big three. Of honestly most characters. I mean, Luffy, he has a basic motivation of, I want to be the most freest person on the seas. But when you actually think about it, it's something that's pretty crazy, because he wants to be the most freest person on the sea, which you would think would mean he could do anything by himself. However, to contradict that, Luffy understands that he actually is not great at practically anything. Only thing he's good at is eating, sleeping, and beating the shit out of people. So for him to understand that so easily, to the fact that he needs a crew and he wants to build up his crew, is something that is just kind of striking against what you actually see on the surface. And that's also one of the reasons why he's one of the best of the big three, is because Luffy, while being the most pure, to me, he's also one of the most complex to understand of the big three. Mainly because of the fact, when you look on the surface, he's dumb, he's only good at throwing hands, he stuffs his face, and he cries about loving his friends and protecting his friends and stuff like that. And you also see how he treasures his hat and his promises to people. So you would just see that on the surface, but when you actually dig down into the character, you understand that Luffy is somebody that's pretty easy to understand, but at the same time, it's pretty hard to understand too. For example, he has a strange understanding of how things work. It's a simple understanding that he has that most people either don't think about or just don't notice. Two examples of this would be, one, when he got into a fight with Vivi. Now, if you don't know, Vivi Nefertari Actually, if you don't know, I don't know why you're watching this video, but Vivi Nefertari is the princess of a kingdom called Alabasta, not hidden, but stationed in a desert. So Vivi is trying to get her kingdom back from a tycoon called Crocodile, who was a former pirate that was working with the government, thus given certain leniency towards his actions. Vivi teams up with the Straw Hats. They head out to go save her kingdom. On the way there, eventually Luffy decides to give up on helping Vivi. He sits down in the dirt and he says, "Vivi, I give up. I'm not going to help you no more." When she asks why, Luffy states that Vivi isn't taking this as seriously as she needs to. She gets upset and she strikes him. Luffy then strikes her back, which, by the way, is also one of the, I won't say coolest things, whatever. It's one of the coolest things because Luffy has no sense of discrimination in him, but I'll touch on that in a second. So, while they're fighting each other, Luffy simply states to her, "Vivi, you can't just take all the responsibility for this on your shoulders. You have to be willing to put other people at risk." And Vivi says, "I don't have anything else to put at risk but myself." To which Luffy responds, "You have us. You have your friends. We're the ones you can put on the line right next to your life. Isn't that the point isn't that why you've been traveling with us?" And from there, it's just a simple understanding of Luffy says, you can't just do this by yourself. You can't just think that you can go in and save everybody. You have to accept there are going to be casualties in this conflict. And thinking that you can be the only casualty doesn't make sense. That's something that you wouldn't expect Luffy to even think about. That's something that you would see somebody like Nami, Zoro, or maybe Sanji, more intellectual people of the crew think about, but not the idiot of the crew. So when he does that, it's pretty striking, and it shows a certain complexity of how he thinks about things that you wouldn't normally expect him to. Another situation that I want to bring up, which can kind of be spoilery if you're not into the series fully, or if you're not that far into the series, because it shows up very later in the series, probably like like the 700 to 800 episodes. It's pretty deep in there. So spoiler. Eventually in the story, Luffy meets the samurai who are from the remote island of Wano. It's a samurai kingdom separated from the rest of the world. So he meets these guys and he actually finds out that one of the children, or the only child in that group, Momonosuke, is actually the son of the former ruler of that land. Luffy is then asked by one of Momonosuke's retainers, Kinemon, if he would help them to free Wano from the grips of one of the biggest named pirates in the world. Luffy then rejects this offer of help, and he does it after hearing the basic story of what happened, of how this pirate took that island away from the past ruler, Momonosuke's father, and killed his father. So after hearing that and understanding it, Luffy still says, "No, I won't help you." Everybody freaks out. Nami and Usopp start hitting Luffy, and they start yelling at him like, "What do you mean? Just give us a second. We'll make sure that he says yes. We want to help you guys." And then Luffy stops everything and he says, "Momonosuke, you are the leader. These are your retainers. These guys follow you. It is not a retainer. It is not a subject's position to ask for help. That is the responsibility of a leader to admit that he needs help. So unless you're the one who's going to tell me you need help, I'm not going to help you." And that's something that for me struck so hard, because this idiot character has now taken the time out to tell a child who is trying to become the ruler of a nation that he lost, you need to accept the responsibility of your station. That's something you wouldn't even think Luffy would care about once again, but it's something that he just does so effortlessly and something he understands just instantly after hearing that Momonosuke is the daimyo or the technical ruler of Wano. So when he does that and he forces this child to grow and asks him for help as the leader, it helps the child, Momonosuke, understand that he has a whole lot of responsibility on his belt. The last thing I kind of want to touch on is the fact that Luffy, like I said, he's the purest out the big three. So that means that Luffy does not see discrimination. He does not see race, gender, sexuality. He cares nothing about those. If he sees you and you're dressed up in a tutu, he'll be like, you're weird, but that's cool. If he sees you and you got blue skin, you got fish scales and stuff on your neck, he'll be like, that's weird. That's cool. I like that. If he sees you and you're just some, oddly shaped person. I mean, when he met Brook, the first thing he said to him was, yo, do you want to be a part of my crew? He met zombies and he asked the zombies to join his crew. So Luffy does not have a sense of discrimination in him. He doesn't have a sense of separation. He can tell that things are different. He can tell something's a different race or stuff like that. So it's not like he's blind to it, but it just doesn't affect him to treat anything different just because they are different. So when you see that and you see how he acts towards people, you see how he doesn't treat anybody different, he'll still note that some things look weird or seem weird, but he won't actually let it affect how he treats these people. And to me, that's one of the greatest things, because One Piece is, to me, the most diverse show I've ever watched and also the most woke. And for a show with this much diversity in it, I think it's one of the best things that you have a character that just doesn't care about any of the diversity that's in there. He only sees people for what they are, which is either a good person or a bad person. Even if you're a Marine, he does not think you're evil. If you are a other pirate, he doesn't think you're bad. He just knows that he might have to fight you. So he won't treat you based off of what you look like or even your station. He will only judge how he should treat you by your actions, which is, if we're thinking about it, one of the most powerful things that one of the most iconic leaders we've had in history, Martin Luther King, said. I hope that one day my children and other people's children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the color of their actions. So Luffy is literally the personification of that saying, which, by the way, if I didn't say it correctly, I apologize. Power to the culture. And when you see that, Luffy is just somebody who you don't see him discriminate against anything, or you won't see him turn somebody away or run away from something just because of the fact that it's a different race, species, form, sexuality, gender. He treats it all the same. And that's something that I respect a lot. And I think it's something that helped me grow to not really have discriminations about things. So to me, that's why Luffy is the best character, because he has this complexity about him that the other characters just don't. And also the fact that he is somebody that's so pure that there's not a drop of evil in him. He's a good guy. He's nice even to his enemies. I mean, he fought a blind man in Fujitora, and just because of the fact that he was blind, Luffy called out his attacks to him. And Fujitora gets upset with him about it. He says, why the hell are you patronizing me just because I'm blind? I'm not weak. He says, I don't care if you're weak or not. I'm not just going to attack a blind man. So I'm going to tell you where my attacks are going. So just like, that kindness that he has, where it was somebody who's technically crippled, or at least he's physically disabled in a way. And Luffy, he doesn't take pity on the man. It's just he doesn't feel comfortable attacking somebody that can't see where his attacks is coming from. So he tells them where they're coming from. And it's something that, like I said, you wouldn't expect an idiot character, as he's labeled as, to even register. But he takes the time out to go and do something that kind. And for me, Luffy's kindness mixed with his purity is one of the reasons that he is, well, for me at least, the best out of the big three and the best MC out of them all. So that's kind of wrapping up the video. If you have any comments about some of the things I've listed and some of the reasons why these characters are some of the best and why they deserve to be the best of the big three in shonen anime, then list them. If you feel like I've said some things that you don't agree with, you can list those as well. If you feel like I said some things that just didn't really make sense or you want more clarity on them, drop them in the comments as well. Definitely this is something that can have a lot of fun talked about. Just be sure not to be toxic, because if you're toxic, I'll delete your comment. Like, I don't give a fuck. Also, like I said earlier, be sure to like, subscribe, and also share the video. You know, get some of this good ass content out to other people. I'd very much appreciate it. So, wrapping everything up, just want to say thanks again for watching, and I will catch you next time. Peace.